What's up guys, welcome back to the channel. I'm Justin Davis, and today I have another DJI bind and fly quad on the bench, but I built mine up from a kit. You can also get it bind and fly from Banggood's website. It's around the $389 price point without a receiver on there, so it is a little bit cheaper than the iFlight DC5, which is cool. And it sits just a little bit lower. It's kind of a lower profile type of quad. It does have replaceable arms. It has gold hardware top and bottom, which is kind of neat. And for mine, I built it up with the components that I preferred for a 6S setup. So I have the Flywoo 6S 2207 motors, and those were pretty low kV. They're actually 1750, which is right about the 6S sweet spot in my opinion. Any higher around 1850 and it starts to just kind of have battery sag and too much amp draw out of the ESCs to the battery. So 1750 is good, and for long range I usually recommend 1650 kV for your 5-inch 6S quads, or 6 or 7-inch even. On the back they have TPU mount, which is nice, so you have those two dual antennas back here, and Geprc put their air module on the very back. You can see the refrigerator sitting back there inside that TPU mount, and I usually take just a little piece of some type of heat shrink and put between the top of the unit and the frame. I know this is not going to be great for heat dissipation, but it's going to keep this air module from touching that frame. We don't want this thing to short out or touch the frame at all. They have it floating on the very bottom there. You can see there's about 10 millimeters between the frame and the air module itself. But it is really fast, really nice to fly digital FPV. If you haven't tried it yet, you've got to try it. This is not a total true X design. Also, it does have swept forward arms, but they made the body long enough in the front so that you get the props out of the view. Very important for your more cinematic type videos, which you can do with this one. This one also has duality. You can do some freestyle with it, or you can do some cinema style recording with the onboard DJI DVR. And that is super important to me, that we have onboard DVR recording clean 1080p, no breakup, no stutter, because the goggles, when it records from the goggles, you get breakup. And I'm hoping that Bitefrost is, if anybody knows that Bitefrost can actually do breakup free or lag free recording from their ground station, let me know. That would be super awesome if it actually did. But the DC5, it has a total dead cat style, and the camera's way out front on the DC5. But the DC5, I believe, is around $429 for this one. But what's neat about this is that even though this frame looks massively bigger, and I pulled my air module off this one to put it on my Mark 4 build for you guys, but they're only 10 grams different in the weight class. So once I put the strap on there and weigh everything here with the props on and everything, it's around 400 grams. The DC5 comes in around 410 grams. So and both of these quads do come with the F7 flight controller. Geprc has released their HD version of their Span Tower F7, so it also has Bluetooth. I think probably the biggest difference between both of these, I didn't feel a whole lot of difference in the feel, the way that flight controllers fly. iFlight has put a USB-C port on theirs, which is kind of nice, so you don't have to fidget with which way the cable goes. So that's kind of a nice thing from iFlight to consider. But on mine, again, I have the 2207 motors. We have the Hollybro flight controller on here. This is also an F7. You can get this for around $100 with the ESCs and run 4 to 6S on this. And I have my XM Plus right there. It also has onboard Bluetooth, which is cool, so you can use SpeedyB. And I believe that the Span also has Bluetooth. So if you decide to get the bind and fly version, you can use Bluetooth and SpeedyB and change up your beta flight settings on the fly from your phone, which is neat. Also, you have to run a capacitor on a 6S version if you're running the DJI Air module. It's really important. You will have some issues with your video if you don't do that. And just to give you guys another view of the Geprc Mark4 frame right here, I'm just going to go ahead and zoom into those motors so you guys can see those flywheel motors up close. Those are some of the nicest finish on any motor that I've seen this year. Those are the NIN 2207 1750 kV motors. I believe Geprc has their own version of the 6S motors as well for this setup. And you can also get the 4S version motors if you'd like to do just a 4S 5-inch HD system on here. But man, isn't that a good looking quad? Check that thing out. It looks like a trophy just sitting there. Really, really nice looking quad. In the front, all the way to the front, you have a battery pad from here all the way to the back. And up front, you do have a nice flat spot. If you decided to put any kind of GoPro on the front, you could put a GoPro couch up here and mount that. They also have holes for zip ties if you want to zip tie something around it, which is nice. In the back, they also have an option for a 5/8 antenna. If you decide you want to put analog on this quad, you can also build it up with an analog type of antenna. Normally, I usually bring the antennas out the back right here and just kind of have them bent up a little bit, so in case you crash, they don't break this receiver off right here. So these are never really a good idea, but they also have 2 holes next to that spot if you choose to use it. So you can use some zip ties there and put whatever type of accessories you want. This middle rail, they've shaved down super thin. So you have a 2.5 millimeter top plate, bottom plate, 5 millimeter arms, and everything is replaceable on this quad as well. So all the arms are already available for this one, which I like a lot. I know some of the other ones out there don't have arms available yet, but this one comes with pretty much everything you see here as far as the kit goes. You're going to get all the hardware, all the carbon, and you get the TPU accessories for your air module in the box, your antenna, and you get the camera mount up front. And let's look at that camera mount just a little bit closer and see what kind of protection that camera mount provides. And it does stick out just a little bit from the front of the lens, which is good. Protection from the top and the bottom. And the bottom has dual reinforced plates, which is nice. You have an extra plate up front in case you come in like the shovel, what I call the shovel, when you hit in the grass and you just scoop grass up. So that looks pretty nice that they have 2 layers of carbon there. They also have 2 layers of carbon in the back on this back post right here. You also have an alternate spot on the bottom of this frame, so you have 30 by 30 or 20 by 20 options here, and another spot back here. You decided to put 2 layer stack ups right there. That's kind of cool. And I mentioned this before on my channel. If you guys are looking for the black tape that I use or some of the companies use to make the quad look like it was built like that from the factory, this black tape is actually 1-inch gaffer's tape. You can get this stuff on Amazon, which is really nice. And it looks pretty good. It looks a little bit better than my years past. I used just like a piece of electrical tape, but very nice looking quad. Now that you know the specs on it, let's just go outside. Let me show you what it flies like, and let's get this thing up in the air because this thing is another banger. Okay guys, let's go ahead and get the Mark IV up in the air. I've been waiting for this moment for a long time. Ever since it first came out, I was so excited that Geprc was making their DJI bind and fly version, and I couldn't wait to get my hands on it. iFlight was quicker, and they got me theirs first. Geprc sent me a frame, so I had to use my components that I had here to build it up for you guys just to test this frame out. And I am flying a different flight controller, but I have to tell you, I have experience with the span towers all the way back since the first original one that came out, the version 1.0. Now we're all the way up to the HD version with the F7, and pretty much all of these F7s have been performing really, really well this year. So I'm happy with the way they fly. A lot of times when I get an F7 in, I just know I'm going to have a good flight experience with it. And this is a channel that you're watching where I fly a new quad every single day on the channel. So I have pretty much a maiden about 5 to 6 days out of the week. And I work 6 days a week flying and testing new airplanes and different quadcopters. And the Mark IV just seems to be one of those quads that I like the way the frame looks aesthetically. It's nice, it's low profile. They put the air module in the back, which I like, and this Holybro Cocoon is performing well. This F7's nice. It also has Bluetooth on there, so plenty of room with the ESCs as well. Running 50 amp ESCs, able to do 4 to 6S. So I can run whatever battery I want. If you decided to get the 6S motors, guys, too, if you want to actually run a 4S battery, you can do that too. But back to the HD quality. You're looking at the DVR right here, and the goggles, guys, don't look too much different than what you see right here on the screen, which is just mind-blowing. That when you put the goggles on, you just see, and everything looks in focus. That's what freaks people out with DJI stuff. you put them on and everything looks just crystal clear. And I've said this time and time again, people put them on and they say, oh wow, because I can see that pole coming right there, so I flew above it. Sometimes it's hard for me to see things like that. Ghost branches and stuff with analog FPV is really hard, and we've had crazy crashes in the past, but I can try new things even with the Mark IV. Like, I'm gonna do a power loop here, and then I might throw another loop in here in my power loop. It's a little bit of shutter there on that bottom part, but that was a whole lot of G's on the flight controller right there. It also could have been prop wash, but that's my job, is to try to trip up these flight controllers for you guys. Just put them through their tests, through the phases. But seems to be performing on rails. It's a fairly predictable quad, and honestly, like, I don't see a lot of difference between the performance of this one, the Mark IV, versus the iFly DC5 Titan with the Zing motors and the F7. They're very similar the way they fly. They're only 10 grams difference in the weight as well, so there shouldn't be a whole lot of difference unless one was extremely underpowered. If you want a little more power, you can actually go for the Mark IV, this one, because they used 1850 kV motors. 1750 seems to be the sweet spot as far as the mid-range 6S motor, but then again, you can also get the 4S version of this quad, and I think it's the same price. But phenomenal quad, and it is what I expected. It's just a fun joyride. It's like stealing someone's sports car to take out for a ride on a beautiful day. So, all right, guys, welcome back from the flight test, and let's just look at the quad on the scale with the battery strap, the props, and everything. 400.3 grams, and that's before the 6S 1050 battery. Let's just go ahead and add that on there and see what kind of weight we get. And that brings it up to 580.2 grams on the scale. 580.2. That's the total takeoff weight of the Mark IV. Now let's go ahead and weigh the Titan DC5 from iFlight. I've got everything just kind of stacked on here because I have it apart, but we have the air module, the sidewall plates, the camera, everything is on there at 405 grams. 407.7 grams locked in there. And now we can add the 6S battery on there, 6S 1050, and let's see what that'll bring us up to. Make sure everything is on there. Perfect. 588.9 grams total takeoff weight. So both of these are approaching the 600 gram mark, but you're also not carrying a GoPro. So I think at this point, honestly, if you're ready to make the leap into HD FPV flying, digital FPV is something that will kind of change the game for most people that see it for the first time. The first time that I saw the goggles and put them on and saw how crystal clear the DJI goggles were with the air module system on here, it just blew me away. And some people have complained that, well, we can't swap out the camera with a different camera like you can with the analog cameras, but then again, this camera is really good and the color is really true to life. So I honestly don't feel the need to be able to want to switch this camera out unless they come up with an upgraded one. Now, that's the other side of this, is that this system is fairly future-proof because the module itself, you can open it up with M2 driver and you can access the camera cable in the front of the unit and you can pop it off. So that means that if they do come out with a new camera, even if it is more than the $60 camera that they have currently, you could be able to snap it into place as long as they make the harness the same. And that will be the ticker. If DJI wants to, they can kind of screw us all and make a new module with a different type of harness on there that only their new camera supports. And I've seen other companies do that. It's a really shady, terrible thing to do, but they do it for some reason. It's like they want to reinvent the wheel every time they come around just to make us spend more money. And I hate that because I'm trying to do stuff as cheap as possible here. But with HD, you're going to have to pay to play. It's one of those things right now it's still a little bit exclusive to DJI. Fat Shark is coming around with their Bifrost, but I just I've seen good reviews on it, but I'm not sure how well the DVR works. So I think that the DVR on board right here, that's what really wins it at the end of the day for me, is having that DVR on here, recording 1080p at 60 frames per second. That's really awesome. And I have to say that I don't have a lot of problems with Geprc's quality. Their frame is good, and I've already flown the Span F7 tower. It is a good tower. The motors, you can get them in 4S version or the 6S version, which is cool. So their 6S version is around 1850 kV. If you want to go lower, you can get the flywheel ones, and I'll try to put a link down there for you guys for the parts that I use for this build. If you want yours to look like mine, I'll try to help you out by adding the gear list down below. And either way you go, though, you're going to have fun. And it is what it is with digital FPV. It's just freaking amazing, and I love it. So, but thanks again for watching my reviews, guys. This was an awesome review to do, and I really appreciate Gep sending me this frame and being able to build it up. And thanks to Flywheel as well for sending out some gear for me. But thanks again, guys. I'm Justin Davis. Be well and have a great weekend, and hopefully you get to fly some HD soon. I'll check you on the next one. Take care. Bye-bye.